What's up guys and girls, we are back today with another video, and today is actually going to be quite an exciting one for myself. So as you all know, we've been on a road with the Golf. We're trying to make it reliable so that I don't do my normal and fall out with it and get rid of it and want another car, because all attention, once the 86 is back, has to be focused on the 86. So in today's video, we have a special package. I reached out to Ramair filters and they've jumped on to support us with the Golf, and I am going to show you how to install it. So obviously I've cut the tape to save myself the embarrassment of not being able to cut tape properly on a video. So we'll get it opened up, show you what's there, then we'll bring the very soggy Golf inside because I'm not working in the rain, and I'll show you how to fit it. So in the box we have a variety of fairly well packaged items. First up, instructions. We could do the guy thing and throw that away, but we're not going to, because there is a bunch of clamps in there, which we do in fact need. Massive pleated filter. So this filter is probably 90% of the reason why I decided to go with the Ramair kit. Not only are the filters really good, they're also very aesthetically pleasing, which when you're a Mr. Bags and Wheels type of enjoyer, aesthetics are kind of just as important as the performance. Pipework, more pipework, couplings. This is the downsizer for the filter to join the pipework. Rubber seal. These will be the shielding, which you'll see when we install it. More shielding. And more pipework. This one is the one that houses the MAF sensor. So what I'll do is, I'll get this all unwrapped. We shall pull the Golf in and we can get cracking. So now this is all unpackaged. We have a behemoth of a filter. This is why we have the reducer. But now you can actually see what I mean, how ultimately this is one of the best looking intakes on the market, as well as being very good for performance. It's just a filter. I'm a sucker for things that look good, okay, and this looks good. So now I'll set these up on a tripod over there. We'll pull the car in, and we have had a little bit of a reorganisation, as you can see. It's nice. We just need to clear up the mess of GT86 stuff and more GT86 stuff, and there's more in there, so that'll be fun. But let's get the car in. So what you can see is, obviously, factory intake is part of the engine cover on these. There's normally a kind of connecting piece here. The downsides to buying somebody else's old project car, some of mine is missing. So that's never ideal, but this is also part of the problem, the reason why we reached out to Ramair in the first place. And today we get to change it. But as always, what is an intake video without a before and after noise? So I'll let this run, get up temp, give it a couple of revs, and then we'll get cracking with the install. So for removing this, normally, as I said, you've got a kind of part here, I think it's T25 screws. Remove that, and then you will be, see if I can do this one-handed. Unplug the MAF, we'll move that out of the way just now. Then you've got two clips like that, they just literally push off. So once that's unclipped, pop that out, and then there's 4 kind of, we'll say, suctiony mounts that hold this on. You're not supposed to pull it from the front because it'll break it, but mine's already broken and nothing's really actually properly on, so it's hard to do one-handed. I'll get this off and then we'll reconvene. So once your engine cover's off, you need to remove these bits that the engine cover clips onto, and you've got a spring clip down there to get this pipe off the turbo. So I'll do that just now. Kind of hard, we need to let this cool down a little bit. Obviously we just drove it here and then gave it some before revs, so we'll need to let this cool down, then I'll get onto them. So for these little intake mounts for the stock one, the best way I found for removing my rear ones, the front ones were actually just like hand tight. The rear ones were not, and I don't have a 24mm deep socket that's multi-point, has to be multi-point. So what I done was broke the tops off of them, managed to get the socket to line up with it. I say that now and now it's not lining up. There we go, it's on. And then very carefully taking the ratchet, obviously it's not going to go properly in, and then you just need to break it off and then it comes out. So I've been fighting with the spring clamp, and then I remembered these exist. So these are essentially meant for removing that clamp. I'll get it set onto it and I'll show you how it works. Best invention ever. So I had to use a set of pliers to push it round a bit so that the clip could clip on, but if I can try and get the camera in, you can now see that that has locked into place, which keeps that open so that you can pull whatever pipe you need off. Which is now easier seen here with the terrifyingness that is the clamp still locked into the pliers. But now turbo pipe's off, then you've got this wee rubber donut. You just need to take that off as well, as that's going to be replaced with one of the silicone couplings. So the last bit we need to steal from the OEM setup will be the MAF sensor, which is just 2 Torx bolts, holds that in. So we'll get that out and then we can start assembling the new kit. So T20 helps if you've got it in motion, and helps if you keep your eye on the bolt, not on the camera. Going down the bottom. Once they're loosened off, you should be able to get them by hand. One and that should just slide out. It's a good time if you've got electrical contact cleaner, just give that a wee clean down, because an incorrect MAF reading can really ruin your day. It's also potentially a good idea to put your MAF into the new pipework just while you're kind of tackling everything else, so that it doesn't get damaged or anything, because again, bad MAF, bad day. So take these wee bolts out. And then pop your MAF. The right way into the new pipe. And the bolts seemingly only line up one way, so you can't really get that wrong. So next up, all we want to do is get the rear heat shield ready. So if I can do a wee shuffle around some things. What you want to do is take your P-clip, and you want to use one of the short M6 bolts with a serrated washer and an eye lock nut to secure the flat end of the P-clip right here, because what that's going to do is that's going to hold one of your hard pipes up the back of the engine. So I'll get that on and I'll show you what nut and bolt I used. So once you've got that tightened up, you should have something looking like this, and that rear heat shield is now ready to go on the car. What we want to do before we put this on, while we've got the room, we want to take this pipe. This is going to go onto the turbo itself, and you want to use one of the 60 to 80 hose clamps on the bottom end. So it'll be like that. It'll tighten up a lot. So we'll do that while we've got the space, and that means we can get more progress. As I said, right onto the turbo, just down here. There is like a recessed edge it will kind of slot down onto, so you don't have to worry about you putting it on too far or anything like that. So I'm going to go and get a probably 7, and I'll get that hose clamp tightened up. So one thing I will note, you always want to make sure that your hose clamps are going to be accessible if you ever need to take it off. So I've actually angled mine, don't know if you can see, right there, so that I can get a socket in from behind. Yes, it'll mean if I'm going to work on it I'll need to take off the heat shield and stuff, but it's going to be a lot easier if it comes to it. So next up we will get the rear heat shield on. For the heat shield you want to just take 2 of these 10mm headed M6 bolts with the serrated washers, take it over, and these will just bolt in to those holes there where the bits you remove for the standard intake were. So this is how it should look once your rear heat shield is on. Now we can get to the bit that starts making your slow engine look fast. So once you're happy with your joiner, obviously you can get the MAF pipe in. There is a wee blanking cap that comes with it. This extra piece is for KO4 cars because they've got an extra hose that comes round. This is KO3 and slow, so we put the blanking cap in. Then you want to take one of the reducers, put that on to the MAF tube. Bigger hard pipe, secure that with the P-clip and the other M6 bolt. Then what we're going to do is we'll go 90 degree to bring it round here. Then we're going to set up the heat shield. Don't tighten up any of these hose clamps until we know everything's kind of situated. That way it'll still give you a bit of wiggle room just to get the fitment 100%. So I'm going to get the hose clamp on this one, then I'm going to assemble up the lower heat shield. So for the lower heat shield, you'll notice this is one of the rubber feet from the OEM airbox, and for doing that you take your foot, this is very hard to do one-handed, and you're just kind of, again, very hard to do one-handed, hold on, squeezing it through until it's kind of in the whole flange of it, and that's you. Then what you want to do is we're going to take this rubber edging, we're going to cut it to length for going around here, and the same for here and here. Also want to take the little 45 degree bracket, one of the button head bolts and the serrated washer. I've not fully tightened it up yet because we won't know where it's actually going to need angled until we've got it in the car. Next up, we are going to take the bottom section and we're going to place it into the car. And where this goes is, you'll see these wee kind of 2 nipples there. I will take this back out and give it a clean, but that's going to squeeze onto there. Obviously, you need to do a bit of navigation first because of the radiator hose, so I might need to take it out and just give it a wee manoeuvre. We were actually alright when we put it at a different angle, but you'll see this is what the rubber edging's for, because you've also got a radiator hose down there, you've got a battery cable there, just in case there's any vibrations. You don't really want this flopping around and cutting through a coolant hose or a battery cable, because that would not be a good time. So next up, we take the other plate with the hole for the filter. That's going to hold on with these last 4 button head. God, I really need to replace these clamps. With these 4 bolts with the serrated washers, there is a bracket off here where an M6 bolt bolt into the battery tray, and then if we look round here, there is a Torx bolt on the radiator shroud there. That is where this little bracket will go, and then once that's in, we can obviously tighten up that bracket. So I'll get that done just now, and then we'll be on to the filter. So now all the bolts for the heat shield are tightened, and this is where it might get a wee bit tricky or awkward. Due to the sheer size of the filter, what we have to do is we have to set the filter in place, and then we more or less have to get the 90 in the straight on while the filter's already in. So I might try and see if I can get these up on the tripod and see if we can see it all happening that way, but it's really coming together. Now, this is why I said about leaving everything loose, because now that everything's in place, a couple of things have had to shift them just to get them in enough of a place where things will join up. But now what I can start doing is working my way back and tightening things up, making sure that all the pipes are far enough into the hoses. I mean, this one is now too far into this hose, which means there's not enough in this hose, which means this has to pull round, which means there's not enough here. So it's all just going to be a bit kind of jiggery pokery, tightening things up, making sure there's not going to be any air leaks or anything. And then once that's done, we should be good to start it up and see if we can notice a difference. And just like that, this is all tightened up. Still need to do the P-clip, definitely forgot that. But it is definitely a big boy. So what we'll do now is we'll get a bit of heat into the car again, and then we can get the after clip. That's probably the majority of the reason most people are watching. I do the video that will be already up, yeah, have a GFB DV Plus in as well, and the only other noise addition to the car is a res delete. So most of this will be intake noise, but with the DV Plus in, could vary from what your car would sound like if you have a complete standard car. The good thing is now as well, for the sake of tidying things up, we can remove this and this bracket, but in part 2 of the maintenance video, I'm actually going to rip half of this back off, because I will be doing the cam chain and the runner flap delete and stuff. So that's it all fitted, and I wasn't personally expecting the flutters, so that's a nice surprise. That is the best noise a turbo can make, and I know all the people, oh, it's bad for the turbo. I don't care, because I want a KO4. So if the KO3 blows up, oh no, I'll need to get a KO4. But that's it, and I am going to go and take it a road test, make sure everything is a-okay. Unfortunately, I'm here on my lonesome, so I'm not going to get anyone for kind of in-car driving footage really. I'll probably try and get that on a reel when I do one with Ryan for that. He's got a wee microphone, we can maybe put the microphone in with the filter and get a proper kind of representation of how it sounds under load. I just want to say again, a massive thank you to Ramair for supporting this. Go and check them out. They've got filters for a lot of cars. I think there's one for like every VAG platform car. If you're watching this, you're probably into VAG cars. So yeah, keep an eye on the YouTube, because you'll have heard the ticky noise. We are going to be getting onto the cam chain, runner flap delete, and the forged goodies in the next video. That's a promise. So normal YouTube chat, like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.